So you finally decided to embrace your curls, but now you're completely confused about how to find a curl stylist or a curly salon to cut them. Well, I'm going to help you navigate today through that sea of misinformation on the internet by giving you some pro tips that'll help make this journey a whole lot easier. My name's Ken Nickels. I'm the co-founder of the Raw Hair Organic Salon in Naples, Florida. It's one of the top curly salons in the entire country. And I'm going to give you some tips that are probably going to make this journey a whole lot easier. Let's start with number one. The number one thing that you want to remember as you start looking for a curly salon or a curl stylist to work on your curls is forget about techniques. Now, I know most of you are thinking, well, wait a minute, that's completely against everything that I've seen all the bloggers and vloggers talk about. Everybody says you have to have wet cutting, you have to have dry cutting, or you have to have curl by curl cutting, and it's have to do this, have to do that. Well, for now at this point, forget about techniques. That's not how you start this journey in finding a curl stylist. Not how you do it. The first thing that you do after you stop thinking about techniques is go on Google. Go on Google and type in your city and the words Curly Hair Stylist or Curly Hair Salons. So basically, you're trying to find curly hair specific stylists within a 35 to 40 mile radius of where you live. Now, you're probably thinking, boy, that's a pretty big radius to drive to get a haircut. Well, actually it's not. The reason is the latest 2016 Pro Beauty Association survey has said that about 60 to 65% of the people in this country right now have some type of curly or textured or ethnic hair. The bad news about that is for every 30 to 35,000 people in America that have that type of hair, there's only one trained qualified stylist. So there's a very good chance, unless you live in a pretty big metropolitan area, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to have to drive to get a service. Now, I've heard people talk about driving anywhere from 20 minutes to 5 hours. So hopefully you don't live in a real rural area, but I would say to start with, if you live in a reasonably sized city, look somewhere in the 35 to 40 mile radius and go to those pages, go to their Facebook pages, go to their websites, go to their Instagram accounts, and look at the pictures. If they're a curl specialist, chances are they've got a lot of pictures online where they're showing you before and after pictures. And that's the number two thing, is look for pictures of women that in the before picture look like you. And then look at the afters of those and ask yourself this question: do they look pretty and does it look good? That is the huge key in this. Does it look pretty? Does it look good in the afters? And they need to look like you. Now, I'm going to do another video talking about curl types because you may or may not understand how curl types are. But here's the reason that I have you looking for girls that look like you. There's several different types of curls, and they're typically ranked between 2A and 4C. And they go anywhere from a light wave to a very, very tight curl. Well, here's the issue for somebody like you. You might find a stylist that is really good at cutting 2A, 2B, and 2C curls, waves. Basically, let's call them waves, all right? And they may be really good at that. And you might look at their before and after pictures and say, wow, those pictures look really good. Those girls look really pretty. I'm going to pick that one. But the problem is that you might have 4C curls, where it's more like an African American hair or an island type hair. And chances are that a stylist that's really, really good at 2A, 2B, 2C curls and posts lots of pictures before and afters of those is not going to be really good at your 4A, 4B, or 4C curls. And you need to be aware of that. So look for girls that look just like you in the befores, look at the afters, and ask yourselves, do they look pretty? Do they look good? And that's going to be a big key. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple of other things as far as fallacies that I hear shared online all the time that are just not true. You hear people a lot of times when they talk about how to pick a curl stylist, they say, find a stylist that has curly hair. That's a crock. And I'm not saying that there's a lot of stylists out there that have curly hair that are really good at cutting curly hair. But I look at it this way, and this is coming from someone who's a co-owner of a curly hair salon. If I need a heart surgeon, I'm not looking for a heart surgeon and choosing him solely by the fact that he's had a heart attack. I'm just not. It's ridiculous. It's their training that's going to be the key when you're trying to pick a stylist. So, for example, I've been to some of the top biggest hair shows in the entire country, and I've been in forums with some of the top curl experts in the entire world. Two of the best curl stylists that I've ever seen in this entire country, both of them were bald men. So, and their work is beautiful. So what does that tell you? So that's one fallacy that's out the door. Your stylist does not have to have curly hair to be good. So keep that in mind as you look for a stylist. So, second thing, if you're looking for a stylist and when you did the Google search you didn't find enough in your area, the next thing I would do is I would go to two websites, actually three, but we're going to talk about two primarily. Go to divacurl.com and go to wedad.com. Those are two big companies that do curl training, that train up curl stylists, right? And they have pretty good programs. And they'll have an area on both their websites called Salon Finders or Find a Stylist, okay? Same thing. Go to that area, pick your state, and look for some that are within maybe a 30 or 35 minute, radius of your house, and go look at their websites, look at their Instagrams, look at their Facebook pages, and do the same thing like you did before. Look for people that look like you and ask yourselves in the afters, do they look pretty? Do they look good? The other thing is you'll be able to tell on there how much training they have, because that's also a big key with a curl specialist. Because like I said before, there might be some stylists that are really, really good at certain curls, but it might not be yours. And that may very well be the case. So just because they're listed on the Diva site or on the Wedad site, they may not have the training that you need. And that's going to bring us to our next point as well. Now, there's a third site that I mentioned that you could go to. And it's the largest online curl community in the world. It's called naturallycurly.com. They also have a salon finder area on their website. The problem with that one is those are typically stylists that are just submitting their information as being curl specialists and getting put on that list. And they're really not properly vetted, and you really don't know what their actual training is unless they listed it. Now that's the difference between that and websites like wedad.com and the DivaCurl website, because those have been certified, those people have been through their training, that they're qualified. So I would take, unless you really need to research in the Stylist Finder on naturallycurly.com, you can probably go on either one of those two that I listed before and probably find what you're looking for between that and Google. So there right there is a big step in this. The next thing I would do is I would pick a couple of those, probably two, maybe three out of those groups, and I would call up and make a consultation appointment. Typically in a consultation appointment, a lot of salons will do it for free. Some of them will charge you a small amount, maybe $25 or $30 or so, but what they'll do typically is they'll apply that to your service. And the reason is because when you're spending time in their chair, they're not getting paid. So typically a proper consultation with a curl stylist will take between 10 and 15 minutes. That's it. Now, make sure when you make this appointment that you respect their time. Respect the stylist's time. Don't take half an hour getting a consult. Don't take 45 minutes or more getting a consult, because frankly, it's rude. You've got stylists that they've got to feed their families too, and it's not like they're all getting rich, doing haircuts. So keep that in mind. Don't waste a whole lot of out of their time. Have your questions ready that you want to ask them, and you actually, by asking those questions, you'll know in a matter of minutes if that stylist is the right stylist for you or it's not. I mean, it's pretty easy. So what kind of questions do you want to ask? Questions that you want to ask are, how would you cut my hair? Would you wet cut it? Would you dry cut it? Would you curl by curl cut it? How would you like me to come in? when you cut my hair? Do you want my hair wet, washed, unwashed, completely styled? How do you want it? Those are questions that you want to ask. Ask that stylist. How many people have you cut that have hair like me? Can you show me before and after pictures if you didn't see them on their Instagram or their website? Make them show you. The next thing I would ask them is, what kind of products would you be using? That's also a big key. If they don't understand things like the Curly Girl method, which you can watch, there'll be another video posted on here in the next couple of days where I'm going to talk about that as well. But are they Curly Girl friendly products? That's going to tell you a lot. This is something that you've got to wade through a little bit, and hopefully you did it in your research. But there's stylists that say they're curl specialists that really aren't. And if they don't know the buzzwords like curl type or curly girl friendly or curly girl method or curly girl products, if they don't know typical buzz phrases like that are real common in the curl game, that's probably not somebody you want cutting your curls. So keep that in mind. Another thing that you can ask during that consult call, when you call to make the consult, some will do it, some won't, some it might be important, it might not be, but you could ask them if they would style your hair. And that will also tell you a lot. How do they apply products? How do they do it? What do they use? Those are real big, keys. And if they style your hair, you're going to learn a lot about that. Now, some stylists will do that. I don't hear about it a lot. Frankly, it's because it takes a lot of time. And like I said, 10, 15 minutes, you really want to be in and out of there. So those are probably some of the biggest keys that will help you on this journey. Now, curl, let's talk about the different techniques. There's typically 3 disciplines, and I would go as far as actually saying 4, but we're going to say for this conversation, there's really 3 different techniques for cutting curly hair. There's dry cutting, there's wet cutting, there's curl by curl cutting, and then there's combination cutting, which is sometimes you even run into heads of hair that require all 3 of those techniques, or maybe 2 of those techniques that we just listed off. So, how do you know what you need? Well, let me tell you how exactly to sort through that. Now remember, this is coming from a pro, somebody that's owned a salon, a curly hair salon for a long time, that runs through probably 50 curly haired people through their salon every single day. So what I'm telling you, listen to. I know you hear from a lot of the bloggers and vloggers that you have to have this and you have to have that, and it's just not the case. You need to find a stylist that is trained in all the disciplines, and that's not easy, because what you don't want is you don't want to go to a salon where the stylist only knows curl by curl cutting, okay? Because your particular curl might not need curl by curl cutting, and what you don't want is you don't want that stylist cookie cutter stuffing you into a technique that they know just because they know it. So I see stories all the time in our Curly Girl Facebook forums all the time who have saved up the money, a lot of money, to go to a curl stylist to get a curly cut, and they come back and they're miserable and they're crying and too much got cut off and it doesn't look good and this, that, and the other thing. And I really believe a lot of it boils down to that, is that when they go to their consult, they don't know the right questions to ask and they didn't ask the right questions. And that's why I said you need to ask them, what kind of techniques, how are you going to be cutting my hair? So in other words, Susie in the forums over there, might be, really trying to help. I mean, really, sincerely trying to help you and trying to guide you by telling you you have to have a wet cut. Okay? Well, the problem is that chances are she's not a hairstylist, a professional curl stylist that's had you in her chair or has seen your hair close up and personal to know exactly how your hair should be cut. And so you really can't take that advice. That's not good advice coming from a good place, even though it's well-meaning. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing that. What I'm bashing is where you get your advice from. Who do you listen to? Those are the big keys in this. So Anyway, hopefully that's helpful. Those tips right there should really get you to that next level, get you the cut that you want, get you the cut that'll make you look pretty, and get you on your way on your curl journey. So good luck to you. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, or you can email them to me at ken@rawhairorganics.com. I'd be more than happy to help you out, and good luck on your curl journey.